If you've listened to this podcast for a while now, you know that the tone of the show is to share uplifting conversations about life in the South. And today is no exception. Last Monday, March 27th, 2023, our city of Nashville, Tennessee, faced a devastating heartbreak through a school shooting that took the lives of 3 children and 3 adults, including the head of the school, Katherine Koonce, a dear friend to Lainie for the last 23 years. Today, we wanted to give space for honoring Katherine in a personal way, as a hero, friend, and true Steel Magnolia.
I'm Lainie.
And I'm Laura Beth, and we are Steel Magnolias. The strength of steel
With the grace of a magnolia.
We are here to have uplifting conversations about life in the South.
And we've got plenty of room at our table, so pull up a chair.
Well, here we are at the table. We gather at the table in good times and hard times.
That's right.
And today is no exception to the heartache that the rest of our city is facing, and really nationally.
For sure.
That I know many of you listening, even on other coasts and in far, far away states, I know you feel the pain that we felt here in Nashville from last week's shooting. And just as I said in my intro, we love to talk about life in the South, and we've covered hard things in the past. We don't typically stay on a news cycle sort of content, but this was just so close to us. And Lainie has such a rich friendship with Katherine, who we're going to really focus on today. And we just really felt like this would be a place of healing and just a place to give some space and honor. So the interesting thing about this conversation is it could have happened very differently. Lainie and I were actually headed to Mississippi last week when the news started unfolding about this tragedy. And we have some incredible Mississippi episodes to share with you all in coming weeks. So we're really, really glad that still the Lord gave us some really good time together and gave us a really good trip. But, you know, Lainie, even with you hearing the news that your friend, Katherine, the head of the school, they call her the headmaster, it'd be equivalent to a principal, of this covenant school, when that news came out, I know a lot of people know Katherine, that she's a very deeply rooted person in the community and just has touched so many lives. And so I thought it was interesting that when you had posted on your own social media that you had lost a friend, you immediately got an inquiry from NBC News for an interview that night, right? Monday night,
Yeah.
There we are at dinner, and you're getting a phone call from a number you didn't recognize.
And it didn't say maybe it was spam, but I was like, I don't know that number. I'm not answering that.
Yeah. Followed by a text, followed by an email. I mean, just like relentless sort of requests because they wanted to hear about Katherine. They wanted to know the person that she was, the life she lived. They wanted to hear about her. And I promise I'm going to stop talking and let you share in just a minute. But it was one of those moments, and it was, I think I'll probably face this the rest of my life. Journalism is so tricky. And it was one of those pauses that you had in, first of all, you weren't ready to share because it had not even been 24 hours. So you had just, had not even half a day to sit with this. But secondly, who is this person that's going to be interviewing you? What's their angle?
Yeah, are they going to ask me leading questions?
Yes.
I don't know where they're going to go.
How will it be edited? All the things that are just so sad in journalism, and truthfully, things that we even in the power of our own podcasting editing skills have the option to, sort of tweak the way somebody sounds if we do an interview or
Sure, yeah.
the way something is shared. And so while if you had done the NBC interview, that would have been a much larger platform to share about Katherine. It just didn't feel right. So as I was listening actually to an interview with Stephen Curtis Chapman, a Christian singer that lives here in Nashville that has great impact from Katherine Koonce, and his family, and especially one of his sons in particular was greatly impacted by her. He shared an interview with Anderson Cooper that was fantastic. I will link to it in the show notes. And at the conclusion of that interview, I was like, I would really like to hear on record some thoughts from Lainie. So that's how this sort of transpired. I called you. I said, what do you think if we could just share an episode on, and I didn't even have the title, but you said The Loss of a Steel Magnolia. And that is what we're going to call, that's what we're calling this. And that's what we're feeling. And so, yeah, that is our intent. Maybe one day we will even be able to share this with her family, with her children, with future grandchildren, who knows. But we wanted to memorialize her, and she's had great impact on you. So what sorts of things just are stirring around in your mind?
The first thing I was thinking of is Katherine was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And that just, when I think of Louisiana, I just think so Southern, right?
So Southern, yes.
Such a steel magnolia in every sense of the word. And Katherine lived a really beautiful life, but it wasn't always easy. And it was making me even think back to Sean Dietrich. He has said before, ugly childhoods make beautiful people.
Ooh. Wow. And he's had an ugly childhood.
And so she has, just had some, I don't know her whole childhood, but some difficult parts, and was such a beautiful person. And I think all those hard things we go through make us more compassionate, make us more understanding of others. And she certainly was all of those things. I did see her obituary for the first time today. Okay. And so there was one part that I pulled out that I wanted to read. Yeah. And it wasn't anything to do with where she lived or any of that. This is like part of her character. Katherine nourished a winsome and seasoned faith in Christ that pervaded every aspect of her life. Relationships were treasures to her, and she invested herself in every person she met. She was a supporter, encourager, counselor, cheerleader, rescuer. She actively fought against deceit, condescension, manipulation, and abuse. She loved well, individually, creatively, insightfully, tenderly, fiercely. Her many sources of pleasure, including traveling, art, music, pickleball, surprisingly, meaningful conversation, and honoring others with extravagant parties and gifts. Those who knew her were drawn to her. Those she helped never forgot. She fostered deep and delightful friendships that left no one unchanged.
Wow. That's incredible. Really well written. And even as an outsider, I fully see. Even from the stories that we're hearing, everything is matching up and lining up with the same
I loved
experience.
That rescuer part.
Yeah.
Because that's what she was.
She was.
In every sense of her life. But I was thinking a lot about, I just felt like God gave me this almost picture of a mooring. You know what a mooring is? It's like a permanent structure to which a seaborne vessel can be secured. So think about, in Venice or something, those striped poles. Yes. Those are mooring poles.
Okay.
So you can tie your boat up to it.
Yes.
And also think, like on a dock or something, there's those things that you're tying the boat up to. So that's a mooring.
Wow.
And Katherine was a mooring. She was a secure place where, in the midst of crazy waters, you could tie yourself to.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Anyway, so I was just thinking about how we're all on this journey of life, and we're in this vast ocean of thoughts and beliefs and circumstances and events that can cause us to question what's true and what's real. And we have to have moorings in place in our world before we need them. You can't start building one when you need it. It's already got to be, because now you're getting tossed and turned, and you've got to have that place already secure.
Wow, Lainie, that's so good.
And we need to know where those are, where the moorings are, or in this case, who they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's really what I wanted to kind of focus in on, of that she was that for me in a season I needed it, and really encourage others to know who those are in your own life, in your own world.
One of the things I even remember in a season where, I mean, you could call her a lifelong mentor for you, but there was even a season where you guys were intentionally, meeting at a coffee shop.
That was the title I would have given her in that moment, right?
And what I felt like she was imparting to you in that season wasn't, okay, let's meet for coffee and sort of discuss some of these things that you're struggling with, right? That's not exact. And I wasn't there. This is just sort of the change that I saw in you was she could always like zoom out and go, perspective. Let's get, like you're saying, like, let's get true north. Let's center ourselves on who God is. Even in the picture you're giving, there's waves, there's all these things knocking you around. Don't focus on those.
That's right.
But do you trust him? And I think that was even the book.
That was the root of what I was struggling with, too.
Yeah.
Because it was a faith struggle.
Yeah.
Not that, it was some circumstances that happened in my life that made me question what God had said to me. And so it was even interesting that she was like, well, let's just read a book together. It wasn't, let's even do a Bible study. In that case, it was a Christian book. She actually said, let's read this book. It's called Ruthless Trust. She hadn't read it yet either.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She was just going on the author and the subject matter. So it was Ruthless Trust by Brennan Manning.
Oh, so good.
And I think this was 2009. I was trying to remember exactly, but it was 2009. And, we would meet on a regular basis for this season and just talk about the book, talk about struggles. And I like how you said that, just like basically getting my compass straight to true north again instead of what my feelings were.
Right. She was a very, I keep saying centered, but she just was a very steadfast and just steady person.
I think that's even why the mooring kind of came in place, where I was like, it's not like she didn't have any, I'm sure, moments of questioning. She's had to go through things like that too, but she was just steady.
Yeah. And I believe there are people that are more black and white than others. And she was certainly one of those people to just know the truth and it'll set you free,
That's right.
Like let's, even in the instance for the way that she set up the covenant school to respond. They were so buttoned up with the way that they had all been trained, like really high level training, not just whatever the basic level for kindergarten through 6th grade should be, which was the age level of this school, but like whatever the most high level training you can get for your school, that's what she had.
Yeah.
That's kind of how she lived her life. I mean, that's how she educated herself, right? It was just like, whatever I can do to get the most knowledge and the most, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so she was such a good person to have around for the sake of just knowledge, but heart together with that. It's just like, what better combination for a principal than somebody that loves kids but is super buttoned up.
That's so good.
Yeah. So, she's definitely being praised for just her heroism, definitely for the sacrifice of her life, but even just in her preparations and plans that she had shared with, her whole staff and gotten them all ready. So, now with that, it would be silly for us to think that Katherine was all teddy bear.
Oh, yeah.
I bet you, I'm just guessing, but I'm sure she even said some things to you while mentoring you that were a little hard to receive, right? Or things that were not something said to hurt you.
Right.
But if you're
to rise up over it.
Exactly.
Right.
Calling you up,
that's
calling
right.
you higher. Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
Of setting your sights higher, like let's dust ourselves off, but let's keep going. Those sorts of moments. Sometimes it's like, okay.
And isn't that what we need? Like in a coach, in a mentor, in a supervisor, like you want that person that's calling you higher.
Yes.
You can find somebody who will tell you anything you want to hear, though. I mean, meaning.
True.
If you are in a season of questions, if you're in a season of dissatisfaction.
Yes.
There is someone out there who will steer you in any direction that you would like them to steer you.
That is so true, Lainie. If you want to rage, there's some people you can find that will rage with you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you want to...
Mercy loves company, right? Isn't that the saying? Or
misery.
Misery, excuse me.
Misery.
Mercy needs company.
Mercy needs company, but misery
That's right. Yeah.
Loves company.
Yeah.
And I just think about, in scenarios where, somebody's unhappy in their marriage. And if you want somebody to tell you, oh, just go have an affair with that person who makes your heart skip a beat today, somebody's going to tell you, you deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? You deserve to be happy.
Yeah.
If you are struggling with, is God for me? It seems like he's not doing anything to help me. Oh, there's somebody who will fan that. He doesn't care about you. If he did, he would have come through in the way you thought he should. So just be careful, especially in seasons when you're having questions, who you let speak into your life. Again, like I said, I was in a season of questions when I specifically reached out to Katherine to meet with me on a regular basis. And just look for the people who have long time good fruit in their life, right? Like,
that's good.
I'm not saying anybody's perfect.
Right.
Because none of us are.
Right.
But just look at the long time fruit. And the enemy of our soul is a liar, and he comes in such a crafty way, I think, to whisper those lies that sound really good.
Or sound like half truth.
That's right.
That's the scariest
That's the really
lies.
scary part. But it seems, sometimes his lies sound like really true in our situation. And but his fruit is that he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And so we have to remember in this bigger picture that this is a spiritual battle. This is not flesh and blood battle. And so just be really careful who you're choosing to be that. I keep going back to mooring post.
Yeah.
In a season of stormy waters, look for somebody who knows Jesus intimately, that knows his word, that knows his nature and his character.
Yeah.
That knows that he's trustworthy, God-fearing.
Yeah.
Somebody who's God-fearing. And I just, anytime you're being tossed and turned, and seek out that person who is going to throw you that life saver.
Yeah.
The waves are still going to come.
For sure.
The boat sometimes even almost feels like it's going to topple over on its, but you won't be tossed too far if you're tied to a mooring.
Yeah. I love that the way you started our conversation here to even prepare for that. Like, be in relationship with people that are your moorings, so that when you do need them, you're already in relationship with them.
Yeah.
And be that for somebody else.
That's
like,
right.
What do you carry? What do I carry?
That's right.
That I can be that for somebody else. And I love that even, you and Katherine, you didn't go to the same church. Like, you met through a different way. And, I love knowing people outside of my own church family too. Because sometimes
you even need that.
That diversity helps.
That's right.
Even in whatever, just, diversity can't be understated. And this is no exception as well. So.
Right. I think it's really, that even was important in my scenario of like, we believed the same Bible, the same character of God, But I just wanted her insights that came from a little bit different stream.
Yeah.
So the main things we were all the same on.
Yes.
But I wanted her insights that were from a little bit different perspective than maybe who I was all sitting next to in church.
That's
and I
really
love
good.
both.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But for that season, yes, it was good for you to hear some fresh perspective
That's
from
right.
someone that was at a different church.
But I also think this is yet another reason I'm such an advocate for the local church, because we cannot make it through this life alone.
No.
We weren't even meant to. And so just having relationship with other people who can help hold you up when you are weak, and you're that for them.
Yes.
In a different season.
Yes.
We support each other. And yeah, I feel like the church is such a glorious, beautiful thing, even with all her flaws. It's such a beautiful thing. And Christ loves his church. And, she's called to be a beacon on a hill.
The church, yes.
And so I encourage all of our listeners, be a part of a church, have those mooring posts in your life already picked out, so that when you start feeling the rocking waves that you think are going to take you out,
Yeah.
you know where to tie up.
Yeah. And just, giving ourselves grace that those mooring posts are hard to find. So give yourself some time.
Yeah.
But, don't be afraid to let it be somebody that seems out of characteristic for you. Maybe somebody much younger, much older. Or,
Yeah.
At a different school or whatever. Just,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily your first choice, but definitely somebody that God can use. So
It's interesting too, because in wisdom, and I guess just mostly in wisdom and knowledge, Katherine seems so much older than me. But she really wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah. She was an old soul. I believe Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and Nashville, Tennessee should feel so proud
Oh my goodness.
for the part she played in our city. And
Marietta, Georgia. I had forgotten that she lived in Marietta, Georgia for a season as well, and belonged to a church there. And I had forgotten that just because she's been here for so long.
Yeah.
But I did remember in reading her obituary that was part of her story. She was a young life leader in college, and
that's how she met her husband.
that's where she met her husband. Just a good woman.
Yeah.
Very, very strong Steel Magnolia.
Indeed. Well, I am honored to go with you the day that this airs. This evening, we will be at her visitation, and her funeral will be the following day after this comes out. But thank you for sharing your sentiments, and
Yeah.
we know that she is not leaving us the same. None of us.
That's right.
She's opening conversations now through her life and her sacrifice that needed to be had. And I'm absolutely hopeful that there's going to be some good fruit out of this.
Yeah.
I know
because
that-
we serve a redeeming God.
Yeah. Yeah.
We were singing a song at church today about laying down our life. And it just took on a whole new meaning. Sometimes we sing these songs
Yeah.
that we don't think of what that might truly look like. But for some, that, for Katherine, that happened this week. She laid down her life, literally protecting those who she loved. Greater love hath no man than this, that he laid down his life for his friends.
So we thank you, Katherine Koonce, for who you were on this earth and who you continue to be in your heavenly home.
Yeah, the best Easter ever for her this year.
We will be back next week, and in the meantime, peace be with y'all.